Before the world gives you proof, before the evidence is laid upon your path, you must carry within you the unshakable belief that what you seek is already yours. For every great achievement that ever graced the face of this earth began in the unseen realm. It was born in the quiet chambers of the mind, in the sacred space of conviction before a single brick was laid, before a single seed broke through the soil. You see, the eye is limited. It can only perceive what already exists. But the heart, the spirit, they see beyond the horizon, beyond the barriers, beyond the mountains that seem immovable. To believe before you see is to declare war against doubt, to rise above the tyranny of logic that says, wait until you have proof. For proof is the reward of those who dare to trust when the night is dark, when the road is lonely, when the voices of the world cry out, it cannot be done. Belief is the architect of reality. It sketches the blueprint of your destiny before the foundation is laid. It whispers to you when no one else understands, saying, keep walking, for the vision will speak in time. This belief is not mere hope, not a fleeting wish, not a fragile dream tossed by the winds of circumstance. No, it is a force, a fire, an anchor in the storm. It is a resolve that says, though I cannot see the summit, I will climb. Though I cannot see the harvest, I will sow. Though I cannot see the light, I will walk as if the sun has already risen. When you believe before you see, you unlock doors that others cannot even imagine. You call forth things that do not yet exist as though they were already standing in your presence. You speak life into barren fields and suddenly they bloom. You walk into rooms where opportunity seems absent. Your belief creates a table where there was no floor. For belief is the seed and sight is the harvest. One cannot come without the other. Those who wait to see before they believe will always stand in the shadow of those who believed when there was nothing to see. Every morning the sun rises, and with it a new chance is born, a chance to shape your destiny, to write a line in the story of your life that will echo through eternity. But how many people waste this? How many roll out of bed with no fire in their soul, no mission in their mind, no reason for why they exist beyond the ticking of the clock? They wake up, but they do not rise. They breathe, but they do not live. To wake up with purpose is to awaken not just your body, but your spirit. It is to open your eyes and know that today is not an accident. Today is not a leftover of yesterday. Today is not a repetition of the past. Today is a divine appointment with possibility. Purpose is the compass that directs your steps. Without it, you are a traveler lost in the wilderness of mediocrity. When you wake with purpose, you rise with clarity. You know where you are going, and because you know where you are going, every step has meaning. You do not stumble through the hours waiting for life to happen. You make life happen. You do not spend the day reacting to the noise of the world. You create the music of your own destiny. For purpose does not whisper, it roars. It demands of you that you live with intention, that you push beyond convenience, that you sacrifice the temporary comfort of the bed for the eternal reward of a dream fulfilled. Purpose is the difference between motion and progress. Many are in motion, but few are advancing. They run fast, but they run in circles because they lack the anchor of purpose. When you wake up without it, you drift. You let the current carry you wherever it will, and in the end, you wonder why the shore you reached was not the one you longed for. To wake up with purpose means to rise with a plan, to rise with passion, to rise knowing that the hours ahead are a battlefield and you are the warrior who will not leave without victory. It is to set your feet on the floor and declare that this day will count, this day will matter, this day will not be wasted. It means every task you touch, every word you speak, every breath you take is aligned with the mission that burns within you. And when your eyes open to the morning light, you refuse to roll back into the comfort of slumber because you know the clock is ticking and your destiny is calling. You refuse to let the bed be your cage, the pillow be your prison, because something greater waits beyond those sheets. Something worth the sweat, worth the struggle, worth the sacrifice. Something that will make every sunrise a sacred summons to live, to strive, to conquer. There is power in the words that leave your lips, power to destroy. Words are not mere sounds, they are seeds. And every day, with every sentence you speak, you are planting something in the soil of your life. When you speak defeat, you water weeds. When you speak doubt, you invite storm. But when you speak victory, when you declare triumph, even in the face of trial, you summon strength from the unseen, and you align your life with the promise of greatness. To speak victory daily is not to deny the reality of struggle, but to refuse to surrender to it. It is to look at the mountain and say, "You may be tall, but you will not stop me." It is to look at the storm and declare, "You may rage, but I will not sink." The world around you may whisper fear, but your tongue must shout faith, for your words shape your world. They are the architects of your reality. Speak small words and you build small rooms for your life. Speak bold words and you open the doors to vast horizons. Your tongue is a sword and it can cut down the chains that hold you back, or it can pierce your own future. Many have imprisoned themselves with the bars of their own speech. They say, "I can't, I'm not enough, it will never happen." And those words become law written upon their destinies, sealing them in a tomb of limitation. But when you speak victory, when you rise in the morning and declare, "I will win, I will overcome, I will break through," the chains begin to rattle, the walls begin to tremble, and the prison begins to crack. Victory spoken is victory conceived. It takes root in your heart, and soon it bears fruit in your life. Speak it when you feel strong, and it will strengthen you more. Speak it when you feel weak, and it will lift you higher. Speak it when you see no sign of progress, for that is when the words matter most. For anyone can say, "I am winning," when the battle is already won, but the warrior who declares victory while the arrows still fly, that is the soul who conquers kingdoms. The sound of your own voice carries authority over your spirit. When you speak fear, your spirit trembles. When you speak faith, your spirit rises like an eagle on the wind. So train your lips to align with your vision, not your circumstances. Speak not what is, but what shall be. Speak not of defeat, but of destiny. Speak of breakthroughs as though they are already breaking. Speak of mountains as though they have already moved. Speak of victory as though the crown is already upon your head. Every day you open your mouth, you hold the pen that writes the story of your life. Each word is an ink stroke upon the page of your future. Do not write tragedy when you can write triumph. Do not script failure when you can script glory. For your language is the prophecy of your life, and your declaration is the architect of your destiny. Speak victory not once, not twice, but daily, until your voice becomes the drumbeat of your soul and your life begins to march to the rhythm of your words. Discipline is not a chain that binds you. It is a crown that sets you apart. It is the invisible throne upon which kings and queens of achievement sit. Those who rule their impulses rule their destiny, those who master the world. For in a world that moves with the speed of light, yesterday's knowledge cannot win tomorrow's battles. The tools that built the past cannot carve the future. You must upgrade your mind as a warrior sharpens his blade. For the war of life is fought not with weapons of steel, but with weapons of thought. Learning is not an event. It is a lifestyle. It is the discipline of humility that says, "I do not know it all." It is the courage to admit ignorance and the boldness to pursue understanding. It is the willingness to look foolish for a moment in order to be wise for a lifetime. It is reading when entertainment calls your name, studying when distraction knocks at your door, seeking wisdom when comfort whispers, "You've learned enough." To learn like your life depends on it means you never stop asking, never stop searching, never stop stretching beyond what you know. It means you treat knowledge as the treasure that it is, a treasure more valuable than gold, for gold can vanish, but wisdom will sustain you when wealth fails. It is knowing that every book you open is a doorway, every question you ask is a key, and every truth you discover is a brick in the bridge that leads you to greatness. You cannot soar like an eagle if you spend your days scratching in the dirt with chickens. The company you keep is the prophecy of if you walk with the wise, wisdom will rub off on you. If you walk with the mediocre, mediocrity will stain your soul. For environment shapes existence, and the voices you allow near you will either lift you higher or drag you down to the dust of forgotten dreams. To walk with giants is not merely to stand in the shadow of greatness. It is to absorb their spirit, to breathe their ear, to let their courage seep into your bones until it becomes your own. Giants do not crawl. Giants do not settle. Giants do not bow to fear. And when you walk with them, you learn their ways, you adopt their habits, you share in their strength. Giants think in mountains while small minds think in pebbles. Giants speak of possibilities while the small whisper of limitations. Giants see the horizon beyond the horizon, and if you dare to walk beside them, they will pull your vision from the dirt and set it on the stars. For proximity is power. What you are near, you will soon become. But giants are not found on easy roads. They dwell on the peaks of effort, the heights of persistence, the sacrifice. To walk with giants, you must be willing to climb. You must shed the weight of laziness, the burden of excuses, the chains of comfort, and ascend to the places where giants dwell. They will not come down to the valley of complacency. You must rise to their level. And when you stand among them, something shifts inside you. Your language changes. Your posture straightens. Your dreams enlarge. Suddenly, what once seemed impossible becomes inevitable, because you are surrounded by those who live in the realm of what others call impossible. They do not question if it can be done. They ask only how soon it can be achieved. Walk with giants, and you will learn the discipline of their steps, the fire of their hearts, the steel of their resolve. They will challenge you, stretch you, and strip away every trace of weakness that keeps you from your destiny. They will not comfort your excuses. They will crush them. They will not applaud your mediocrity. They will demand your excellence. And though it may hurt, it will heal into the person you were born to become. For giants do not measure life by survival, they measure it by conquest. And when you walk with them long enough, their spirit becomes your own. You begin to think as they think, speak as they speak, and dream as they dream. And then one day you look behind you and realize you no longer walk with giants. You have become one. Dreams are the roots, faith is the soil, but action is the seed. Without the seed, the soil remains barren, the roots remain empty, and the dream remains nothing more than a whisper in the wind. For no matter how grand the vision, no matter how fiery the desire, without action it will never cross the threshold from imagination to manifestation. Action is the proof that you believe in your destiny. Anyone can speak words of ambition, anyone can sketch castles in the clouds, but only those who move, only those who act are worthy of the crowns they seek. Action takes what is unseen and begins to give it form. Action carves paths through forests where no roads exist. Action builds bridges over waters that others said could never be crossed. To act is to rebel against hesitation, to wage war against procrastination, to declare that you will no longer be a prisoner of plans without execution. For planning without acting is like planting without watering. What good is the seed if it lies in your hand, never touching the earth? What good is the blueprint if it never meets the hammer and the nail? Action is the seed, and seeds are small, but within their smallness lies greatness untold. Do not despise the small step, for the journey of 1,000 miles begins not with a leap, but with a single stride. Do not underestimate the quiet deed, for empires are built one brick at a time. Every giant achievement was once a fragile seed of action planted by hands that refused to wait for perfect conditions. If you wait for the perfect moment, you will wait forever. The perfect time does not exist. It is a myth, a mirage, a trap to keep you in the desert of indecision. Those who wait for certainty die in the land of what-ifs, while those who move create certainty with their steps. So motion creates momentum, opens doors that fear kept shut. Action is not about comfort. It is about commitment. The world does not reward execution. The market does not pay for ideas, it pays for results. History does not remember the dreamers who only dreamed. It remembers the doers who dared to act while others doubted. Action is the great equalizer. You may not be the smartest, you may not be the strongest, you may not have the finest resources, but if you move while others wait, if you work while others sleep, if you sow while others talk, your harvest will come and theirs will remain a barren field. Every seed you plant through action has a harvest date. It may not sprout overnight, but in the unseen soil, roots are forming, strength is growing, and in due season, the fruit will appear. But you must keep planting, keep watering, keep working, because the law of action is unbreakable. Those who sow shall reap, and those who refuse to sow shall forever hunger for what might have been. The fiercest battles are never fought on open fields. They rage in the silent chambers of the soul. The greatest wars are not between nations, but within the heart of a man or woman who wrestles with their own storms. Fear, doubt, anger, anxiety. These are the winds that howl within, the waves that crash against the shores of peace. And unless you learn to master you, to control the storm within is not to deny its existence. No, the storm will come, the clouds will gather, the winds will rise. There will be days when the weight of life presses upon your chest like an unmovable stone. There will be nights when the shadows whisper that you are not enough, that you will never rise, that the dream is too far and the burden too great. But in those moments, you must become the captain of your own soul. You must take the helm with steady hands and declare that no wave, no whisper will sink your ship. The storm is not your enemy, it is your teacher. It reveals the cracks in your foundation, the weaknesses you must strengthen, the places where faith must deepen. But to learn its lesson without being destroyed by its force, you must anchor yourself in discipline and calm. For when the storm roars the loudest, that is when the voice of wisdom speaks in whispers. If you allow the tempest of emotion to govern you, you will lose your way, make decisions you regret, and surrender victories that were within your grasp. Control begins with awareness. You cannot tame what you refuse to face. Many run from their storms, seeking distraction, drowning their fear in noise, burying their pain in fleeting pleasures. But storms ignored do not vanish. They return with greater fury. So face the storm, stand in its wind. Feel its rain on your skin. Look it in the eye and say, you may rage, but you will not rule me. Your storm is not stronger than your spirit. Calm is not the absence of chaos, it is mastery over it. It is the art of standing firm when everything around you trembles. It is the power to speak peace to your own soul when the world shouts panic. It is the strength to breathe slowly when the heart races, to think clearly when the mind screams, to act wisely when anger demands recklessness. Control your storm within, and no storm without can shake. For the seas of life will always rise, the tempest will always come. But when the ocean inside you is calm, the waves outside cannot drown you. You become like the mountain rooted deep in the earth, unmoved by the wind that bends the tree. You become like the lighthouse standing firm as the waves crash against its walls, its light burning bright, guiding others who drift in darkness. Greatness is not measured by what you gather, by what you release. The true weight of a life is not in the abundance of what you keep, but in the magnitude of what you give. For the river that flows freely never runs dry, but the one that hoards its waters becomes a stagnant pool, breeding decay instead of life. To give beyond measure is to live beyond self. It is to understand that the purpose of abundance is not accumulation, but distribution. When you give beyond measure, you declare that your life is not a container, but a channel, not a reservoir, but a river. And the river never fears running empty because it knows the source from which it flows is infinite. The act of giving is the proof of trust, the trust that when you release what is in your hand, the universe, the creator, or life itself will fill it again. But those who clutch tightly to their possessions, their time, their love, their wisdom, they cut off the circulation of blessing and choke their own growth. Giving is not weakness, it is strength. It is the boldness to live open-handed in a world that preaches closed fists. It is the courage to invest in others when selfishness screams to store for yourself. When you give beyond measure, you rise above the economy of scarcity and into the economy of abundance, where generosity multiplies and what you pour out returns pressed down, shaken together, and running over. But giving is not only about money, it is about the essence of who you are. Give your time when the world says keep it for yourself. Give your wisdom when others might hoard it for power. Give encouragement when despair sits heavy on the hearts around. Give kindness when cruelty would be easier. Give love when hatred tempts you to build walls. For every act of giving plants a seed in the soil of eternity, and those seeds bloom in ways you may never see, in places you may never walk, in lives you may never know. The measure of your giving reveals the measure of your heart. To give only when it is convenient is to give little. To give only when it costs nothing is to give nothing at all. True giving begins where comfort ends. It is in the sacrifice, in the stretch, in the willingness to let go of what you cherish for the sake of something greater. That is where the power of giving is found. Those who give beyond measure do not live in fear of lack, for they understand a timeless law. What you release comes back multiplied. The hoarder ends empty, the giver ends full, for in giving you do not lose, you gain. You gain joy that money cannot buy, peace that possessions cannot purchase, honor that power cannot command. And though the world may not always see the hand that gives, heaven always does. So give when it hurts. Give when it costs. Give when the world calls you foolish for doing so. For the deepest riches of life are hidden behind the doors that only generosity can unlock. And those doors swing wide only for the hands that open, stretch and pour without fear, without limit. Victory is rarely claimed by the swiftest runner or the strongest warrior. It belongs to the one who refuses to stop. For life is not a sprint. It is a marathon marked by valleys and mountains, storms and sunshine strike. And the crown is not placed upon the head of the one who starts the loudest, but the one who endures the longest. Endurance is the quiet strength that rises when passion fades, when the fire of excitement turns to the embers of routine. Anyone can run when the wind is at their back, when the crowd is cheering, when the road is smooth and the sky is clear. But endurance is proven when the road grows rough, when the muscles ache, when the lungs burn, when the night falls and the finish line is nowhere in sight. It is in those moments that the soul whispers, keep moving. For every step forward, no matter how small, is defiance against defeat. Endurance is not glamorous. It does not sparkle like talent. It does not shine like opportunity. It works in silence, without applause, without spotlight, while others quit and fade away. Endurance is the invisible fire that keeps the engine turning when fuel runs low. It is the stubborn heartbeat of a dream that will not die. The will that says, I will keep walking even if I must crawl. The race of life will test you. It will strip you of illusions, crush your timetables, and laugh at your deadlines. It will take you through deserts where hope feels like a mirage, through storms that drench your spirit, through nights so long you wonder if morning will ever come. And many will fall there, not because they lacked talent, but because they lacked endurance. They mistook delay for denial. They mistook hardship for failure. They mistook the pause for the end. But those who endure understand a sacred truth. Delay is not defeat. The weight you carry today will shape the strength you need tomorrow. The obstacles you face now are not walls. They are the training ground for your future victory. And when others turn back, when others surrender, endurance presses on, slow but sure, weary but unbroken, battered but breathing. Endurance does not ask for permission. It does not wait for the perfect conditions. It does not need the comfort of certainty. It moves forward when logic says stop, when fear says quit, when pain screams enough. For endurance knows that the race is not to the quick, but to the committed, not to the talented, but to the tenacious, not to those who burn bright for a moment, but to those who burn steadily until the end. Every story of greatness is a story of endurance. Behind every towering achievement lies a trail of days when quitting seemed easier, when strength felt like a stranger, when faith was a flickering flame in the wind. But they endured, they pressed on, they outlasted the storm. And when the dust settled, when the crowd returned, when the noise died down, they were still standing, worn, scarred, but victorious. For in this race there are no prizes for those who almost finished. There is no crown for those who gave up when the journey grew hard. The crown belongs to those who stayed the course when everything inside them screamed to turn back, to those who fought on when the battle seemed lost, to those who said with trembling lips and weary limbs, I will not quit. Every movement that changed the world was born from a dream that dared to stretch beyond reason, beyond safety, beyond what others called possible. No man or woman ever rose to greatness by dreaming small. Small dreams are comfortable, and comfort never created a revolution. Small dreams are easy, never shook the foundations of history. Small dreams whisper, but great dreams roar. To dream big is to defy the limitations that life tries to place upon you. It is to take the chains of mediocrity and shatter them with a vision so vast that it makes the timid tremble. Big dreams do not fit into small minds, and that is why the crowd will always question you, laugh at you, even call you a fool. For when they see you aiming for the stars while they cling to the dust, your courage convicts their complacency. Dreams are the blueprints of destiny. If your blueprint is small, your building will be small. If your dream is shallow, your life will be shallow. But when your dream rises like a tower into the clouds, it calls forth strength you never knew you had, endurance you never thought you could bear, faith that lifts you above the storms of doubt. For the size of your dream determines the size of your fight, and the size of your fight determines the size of your future. Do not be afraid to dream so big it scares you. If your dream does not make you tremble, if it does not keep you awake at night with a fire in your bones, then it is too small. For the human spirit was not crafted for the mundane. It was built for magnificence, is never born from mediocrity. It is born from those who look at the impossible and say, "Watch me." Big dreams will stretch you. They will demand your sweat, your tears, your patience, your sacrifice. They will make you walk roads that others avoid, climb mountains that others fear, cross deserts that others cannot endure. They will break you at times, bend you at times, strip you of everything you thought you needed. But in that breaking, in that bending, in that stripping, they will rebuild you into something stronger, wiser, greater than you ever imagined. When you dream big, you give the world permission to dream with you. Your vision becomes a torch in the darkness, a beacon for those who lost their way. It says to the hopeless, "Arise again." It says to the broken, "There is more for you than this." It says to the doubter, "Look what can be done when faith and fire join hands." The greatest tragedy in life is not failure. It is small ambition. It is reaching the end of your days only to realize you played it safe. You aimed too low. You lived within walls you built yourself. Big dreams tear down those walls. They open the sky. They make you see that the limits you believed in were illusions all along. So lift your eyes, lift your thoughts high, but lift your vision beyond what your hands can touch and your feet can reach. Let your dream be a mountain, not a molehill, a sea, not a stream, a universe, not a grain of sand. For the dream that stirs your soul will awaken your destiny, and the destiny that awakens will echo long after your footsteps fade. There comes a point when the ground beneath your feet can take you no farther. When your strength, your skill, your intellect have carried you as far as they can, and the next step demands something greater than logic, something higher than reason. That something is faith, the invisible force that lifts you when everything else says you cannot rise. For destiny is not reached by walking alone. Destiny is reached by soaring, and faith is the wings that give you flight. Faith is not wishful thinking, it is fierce conviction. It is the fire that burns when the night grows cold, the compass that points forward when the path disappears, the whisper that says, "Keep moving," when the silence of uncertainty tries to paralyze you. Faith does not require sight, it thrives without. For if you can see the way, you do not need faith. If you can hold the proof, you do not need belief. Faith lives in the space where the evidence ends and the impossible begins. Faith is not built on comfort. It is forged in Christ. It is born in the valleys where hope seems lost, in the storms where the wind tears at your soul, in the deserts where thirst cracks your lips and despair crouches at your door. It is there in those moments when reason fails and fear roars that faith spreads its wings. It whispers, "Though the storm rages, I will soar above it. Though the valley is deep, I will rise beyond it. Though the mountain towers, I will climb over it." With faith, what is heavy becomes bearable, what is distant becomes reachable, what is broken becomes whole. It turns stumbling blocks into stepping stones, walls into doorways, delays into detours towards something greater. Faith sees the invisible, hears the inaudible, believes the unbelievable, and then commands the impossible to bow before it. Faith is not passive, it is power. It is not sitting idly by waiting for miracles to fall from the sky. It is planting seeds in barren soil because you believe the rain will come. It is building the ark before the flood, marching around the walls before they fall, stepping into the sea before it parts. Faith moves first, and the miracle follows. Those who live without faith live in cages of fear, chained by what they can see, bound by what they can touch. But those who live by faith live unchained, unbound, unbroken. They soar where others crawl, they persist where others quit, they conquer where others surrender. For faith is not asking, "What if it fails?" It asks, "What if it works?" Faith does not tremble before giants. It picks up a stone and runs forward. Faith does not wait for the door to open. It kicks the door down because destiny is on the other side. And when the world says, stay grounded, stay safe, stay small, faith spreads its wings and says, watch me fly. It rises above the gravity of doubt, above the atmosphere of fear, above the storms of resistance, and carries you to a place that only those who dare to believe will ever reach. When the night stretches long and the dawn hides beyond the horizon, when the road ahead disappears into shadows and the weight on your shoulders feels heavier than your soul can bear, there is only one force that keeps your feet moving. One spark that refuses to let the darkness win. That force is hope. Hope is not a luxury, it is the lifeline of the soul. It is the fire that burns in the coldest nights, the ember that glows when the winds of despair howl loudest. Without hope, even the strongest will crumble. Without hope, even the bravest will bow. Hope is the voice that whispers when the world screams silence. It says, keep going, for beyond this valley lies a mountain. Beyond this mountain lies a meadow. Beyond this meadow lies the promise. It does not deny the pain. It does not pretend the struggle does not exist. It simply declares that the struggle is not the end, that the storm will pass, that the sun will rise again. For hope does not live in what is. Hope lives in what shall be. Hope is rebellion against despair. It refuses to bow to the tyranny of circumstance. It looks at chains and sees freedom. It looks at ruins and sees rebuilding. It looks at ashes and sees beauty waiting to rise. When reality says quit, hope says fight. When fear says hide, hope says march. When failure says you are done, hope says you are only beginning. But hope is not passive. It is not idle daydream. It is an active force, a fuel that drives you forward when your muscles ache, when your spirit groans, when your tears fall like rivers and your prayers seem unanswered. It grips your heart with iron hands and drags you, step by painful step, through the wilderness of uncertainty toward the land of promise. For hope is relentless. It does not surrender, does not surrender, does not die, not if you guard its flame. And yes, hope is fragile like a candle flickering in the wind. The storms of life will try to snuff it out. The voices of doubt will try to drown it. The weight of delay will try to crush it. But if you shield it with faith, if you feed it with vision, if you fan it with courage, it will grow into a fire so fierce that no storm can quench it. That fire will blaze in your chest when everything else grows cold. It will light your path when every signpost disappears. It will warm your bones when the frost of fear tries to freeze your soul. Hope turns the longest night into a waiting dawn. It turns the heaviest burden into a step forward. It turns the cry of defeat into the song of victory. And though the road may stretch for miles, though the desert may scorch and the mountains may wound your feet, hope will keep you marching. It will whisper in your ear with every step, one more mile, one more day, one more breath. And those who listen to that whisper, those who march with that fire, those who refuse to let hope die, they will outlast the storm, they will reach the heights, they will claim the promise that only the persistent ever touch. Fear is a powerful voice. It speaks in whispers that crawl through your thoughts, and it roars in moments when the ground beneath you begins to shake. It tells you to stop, it tells you to hide, it tells you that the risk is too great, that the pain will be too heavy, that the cost will be too high. Fear does not shout for your destruction. It seduces you into silence. It does not always push you backward. It convinces you to stay still. And that is why courage is not the absence of fear. Courage is the decision to stand when fear commands you to sit. To stand when fear says sit is to rise above the gravity of doubt that tries to anchor your soul. It is to take a step when your knees tremble, to raise your voice when your throat tightens, to move forward when every instinct screams to retreat. Courage is not born in comfort. It is born in the battlefield of uncertainty, where shadows of failure loom and the enemy call to what if stalks your every move. Courage is raw, unpolished strength. It does not always look heroic. Sometimes it is as small as a whisper that says, I will try again. Sometimes it is a breath taken through tears as you prepare to walk back into the fight you thought had already defeated you. Sometimes it is simply refusing to bow when life tells you to kneel. Fear thrives in the unknown, and the unknown will always be part of life. You cannot erase fear, but you can confront it. And when you confront it, when you stare it down and move anyway, something happens. Fear shrinks. It loses its grip. It loses its grip. For fear is a liar that feeds on your surrender, but courage starves it into silence. Standing when fear says sit will not feel easy. Your heart will race. Your palms will sweat. Your thoughts will scream for escape. But every time you stand, every time you move forward in defiance of fear, you build a fortress inside yourself that no storm can shake. You become the kind of person who refuses to let the trembling of their hands dictate the trajectory of their life. And let it be known, the world does not change because of those who sat in safety. It changes because of those who stood in danger. It changes because of those who stepped into the fire, knowing the flames could burn, but believing the cause was greater than the cause. It changes because of those who faced the lion in the arena and said, if I fall fighting. Courage is not a gift given to the fearless. It is a crown worn by the determined. It is the force that drags you out of the pit when despair says stay down. It is the hammer that breaks the chains of hesitation. It is the voice that says, yes, I am afraid, but I am moving anyway. And when you move anyway, when you take that trembling step forward, you declare war on fear itself. You strip it of its power and reclaim your own. For every great victory the world has ever seen was preceded by a moment when someone stood while fear begged him to sit. And that moment, raw, trembling, defiant, is where legends are born. There is a moment in every life when the waiting becomes heavier than the fear of moving. A moment when the excuses that kept you comfortable no longer satisfy the hunger in your soul. That moment is now. Your time is not tomorrow, not next year, not someday when the stars align or the winds change in your favor. Your time is now. The world is not waiting for another excuse, another delay, another dream buried under the soil of procrastination. The world is waiting for you to rise. For too long, you have believed the lie that you are not ready, that you need more time, more resources, more approval, more perfection. But time does not wait for those who hesitate. Opportunity does not linger for those who doubt. Destiny does not knock forever. It calls once, twice, and then it moves on to someone bold enough to answer. And every day you spend waiting for perfect conditions is a day stolen from your future. The perfect time is not coming. The perfect time is here, and it is spelled in 3 letters. Now, rise not because it is easy, not because you have it all figured out, but because the fire inside you can no longer be contained by the walls of fear. Rise because your dream was not placed in you to die unfulfilled. Rise because the clock is ticking and the pages of your life are turning and there is no rewind button. Rise because the graveyards are filled with dreams that never saw the light of day, and you refuse to let yours join them. To rise is to rebel against hesitation. It is to declare that the chains of doubt will not hold you. It is to say, I may not be ready, but I will begin. I may not have all I need, but I will start with what I have. I may stumble, but I will not stop. For history does not remember those who waited, it remembers those who moved, those who acted when fear said freeze, those who stepped out when everything in them said stay safe. Your time is now because tomorrow is not promised. Your time is now because every second wasted becomes a scar on the canvas of your destiny. Your time is now because greatness is never given to those who wait. It is claimed by those who dare. And daring is not a feeling, it is a decision to rise when the weight of doubt presses you down. A decision to move when the road ahead is shrouded in fog. A decision to take the first step even when you cannot see the last. Rise because the world needs what you carry. There is a gift in you that no one else possesses. There is a sound in your voice, a strength in your hands, a vision in your soul that was born for this moment. And if you do not rise, that gift will wither. That song will go unsung. That vision will fade into dust. But if you rise, if you plant your feet and square your shoulders and lift your head, you will awaken something unstoppable inside yourself. And when you rise, do not rise quietly. Rise like thunder rolling across the heavens. Rise like waves crashing against the cliffs. Rise like dawn breaking the longest night. For your time is now, and the world will not give you permission. It will try to hold you back, to tell you to wait, to tell you to shrink. But you are not here to shrink. You are here to shine. You are here to take ground. You are here to claim what was written for you before time began. And now I say to you, do not let these words remain as echoes in your mind. Let them ignite a fire in your soul. The habits we have spoken of are not suggestions. They are weapons. They are keys. They are bridges to the life you were created to live. You were not born for mediocrity. You were born for magnificence. The chains of fear, the weight of doubt, the prison of excuses, these are not your inheritance. Your inheritance is victory, your identity is resilience, your destiny is greatness. But greatness does not come to those who wait. It does not fall from the sky like rain. It is seized by those who dare to believe when the evidence says no, who dare to act when the world says stop, who dare to rise when others sit. Today you have heard the call. The question is, will you answer it? Will you wake tomorrow with purpose burning in your chest? Will you speak victory over your life until every shadow flees? Will you walk with giants, learn with hunger, give beyond measure, stand with courage when fear demands your surrender? For the world does not change with intentions, with action. And that action begins now. Your moment is here. Your time is now. So rise, claim your crown, and march forward until every dream you carry is standing in the light of reality.